they're attracted to areas like the back end where they typically you could get a bit of siling of the fleece there, and the blowfly that lays the eggs is attracted to here. You can have incidences of it on the back and the shoulders, or the under, or even down to the feet. And we've seen cases maybe in the past where, say, if rams were doing a bit of fighting, or that if there's any open wound in the head, or that any place that there's siling of the fleece, or whether there's damage to the skin, it tends to attract the flies.
Hello, I'm Kieran Lynch, and welcome to OviCast, the Teagasc Sheep podcast. Each episode will bring you latest insights, advice, and technical updates for the sheep industry. With blowfly strike being a risk on farms at present, we're joined by sheep specialist Damian Costello to discuss the risk factors, how it occurs, and the treatment options available to farmers. We hear first from Damian, who discusses the duration of the blowfly season.
Every year, I suppose, we see, from late April onwards, and it continues right through into October, and there can be obviously outside of this window if the conditions are favourable for it. So I mean, again, the big things are the prevailing weather conditions can put, the conditions have a big bearing on. So it's important, I suppose, maybe to take action in time and have prevention measures in place.
Damian, it's probably fair to say this year, given the fact that it was such a slow start and cool enough for a long period, might just be a little bit on the back foot for some, but we're starting to see some evidence of strike happening on the farms already.
That's right, yeah. As you say, maybe it's maybe has crept up on people a little bit this year. Just chatting to a shearing contractor over the last week, and he said he has seen during his work, he has seen the start of strike on yos, So again, as you say, it probably has crept up a little bit on people.
Let's just maybe cover the basics with this. Look, we're entering that high risk period on it, being vigilant, knowing the signs, checking correctly. Maybe just at that point, take us through maybe the signs and where we commonly see it. I suppose we typically take it back in, but it doesn't just occur there.
Yeah, look, I suppose they're attracted to areas like the back end where they typically you could get a bit of siling of the fleece there, and the blowfly that lays the eggs is attracted to here. But you can have incidences of it on the back and the shoulders, or the under, or even down to the feet. And we've seen cases maybe in the past where, say, if rams were doing a bit of fighting, or that if there's any open wound in the head, or that you can. So any place that there's siling of the fleece, or whether there's damage to the skin, it tends to attract the flies. Typically you'll see flies around these areas. You'll see the discoloring of the fleece, and as the maggots progress through the different stages, the different larval stages, you get this discharge and a bit of a foul smell from it as well. So look, it's important to keep an eye on it, and to treat any strike cases fairly promptly as well.
Just when we're talking about that, look, obviously strike is it's a welfare issue. It's causing damage to that carcass if we let go unchecked. I suppose something we kind of maybe lose sight of too is they have quite a short life cycle, relatively speaking. So from the first one you see of it, and particularly in the kind of weather we're getting at the moment where it's more humid, things can change quite quickly. You might just explain to us how the actual strike occurs from that fly laying eggs.
Yeah, again, it's estimated, I suppose, that flies can produce up to 1,000 eggs, and they're capable of laying maybe up to 200 eggs in a day. So for that reason, as you describe, it can occur and spread quite rapidly. So once the eggs are laid, these will hatch into the first stage larvae within about 12 hours. Now these at the first stage, these larvae they're quite small, and they're not causing any damage because they haven't developed any mouth parts. But subsequently, then in the next 24 to 36 hours, they're developing into the second stage, and subsequently third stage larvae after that. But at that stage, then they have developed the ability to feed on the skin and the underlying tissue, and this will cause reddening of the skin and lesions, and it's worse the situation will get, I suppose, if it's left unchecked. So once they reach the third stage, then they will begin to drop off the animal, and they've completed the life cycle. But a new fly can emerge, within a week again if the conditions are as you describe, humid and I suppose ideal conditions for blowfly strike really.
So let's just put that in context. That's quite a short spell from the actual first fly laying eggs, but there's probably another important implication there, Damon. You touched on this. If you don't get in early, don't prevent it early. If you let them develop and hatch, you only increase the burden on the farm.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. So, you need to, you need to be vigilant, I suppose, and you can have a number of cases quite quickly, and again, like a lot of things, I suppose prevention is better than cure. So, it is important to get in time.
Look, just as well, we'll round this one out for a minute before we talk about the treatment options, but the predisposing factors, obviously you mentioned, silent and fleeces, that's one. I suppose the conditions we see certain years are more challenging. What are the couple of predisposing factors, or what can we kind of do about them?
Yeah, again, look at, I suppose, as we said already, the blowfly is attracted to organic matter, which you'll typically find on the tail of the sheep. Again, if there's any open wounds or even the likes of foot rot or that have been mentioned already, these are the type of areas that attract the flies. And again, with damp sort of humid conditions, this heightens the risk even more. So, in terms of that, I suppose having a plan in place and for control of external parasites. Also, I suppose having an effective control plan for the likes of internal parasites to avoid having lambs that are scouring behind, and that again, dagging or crutching any dirty sheep within the group is a good idea. And again, if you have a strike, getting in there fairly promptly before, as we said, the second and third stage larvae have done damage.
Okay, so look at early intervention, one of them key things we need to do. In terms of treatment, we're talking about if we see strike, we're trying to prevent it. More importantly, what are the couple of different treatment options that are available?
Yeah, sure. I suppose the more traditional treatment option in the past would have been plunge dipping, and again, the really important point about plunge dipping as either a treatment or a control is following the correct dipping procedure, and again ensuring that you follow the manufacturer's instructions in terms of what's the correct strength that the dip is made up to when you're making up the initial dip bath. But also it's important that the dip concentrate is replenished again as per the indications on the instructions. And really the reason for this is that effectively every sheep that goes into the dip solution is stripping a little bit of active ingredient. They're taking a bit away with them in the fleece. So that's why it's important to top up the dip concentrate as directed, I suppose. The second thing then is there's good evidence to suggest that the length of time that the sheep is immersed in the dip solution is strongly correlated with the length of protection you'll get from that. So we're talking about a minimum of 60 seconds, but there's evidence to suggest that is really critical in terms of the efficacy of the dipping in terms of the length of cover you will get from that treatment. Secondly, then I suppose is, as I said, the pour-on applications, and these are probably have now become, I suppose, the most common method of control on the farm. And there's a range of products available. with different modes of action, I suppose, and they will cover anything from 7 to 19 weeks in some of the products. Again, important to follow the instructions in terms of the application, as this again has an impact in ensuring that your equipment, your gun applicator is calibrated properly and it's delivering the recommended amount, and that it's applied correctly over the designated areas. Again, if you have very dirty sheep in the group, it's a good idea to have crushed or dagged them before, because applying product on top of soiled areas can reduce the efficacy of certain products. Again, we'll maybe talk about it in a minute, but it's important that the withdrawal periods are that you're cognizant of those and that you take account of those when before you apply. So I suppose they largely fall into two categories. The pour-on products, Kieran, there's pyrethroid-based pour-ons, for example, cypermethrin. These generally offer cover for about 6 to 8 weeks from fly strike on the areas they're applied on. Now, these particular products, if you have a strike, they will kill the maggots if they're directly applied onto the larvae. And I suppose look at examples of these familiar trade names, such as Ectofly or Vector or Vetrazin, and there's more of them there. I may have missed out on. So that's the what they call the insecticidal pour-ons. The other category then are the what they call insect growth regulators, and their mode of action is that they interrupt the life cycle of the larvae. So the eggs will be laid as normal as well, but what these products prevent is that the stage 1 larvae that are not causing any harm, it stops them from developing into the harmful stage 2 larvae, which have the mouthpieces and everything that can cause damage. So the important thing maybe to remember as well that if you have a strike, as I say, you have stage 2 or 3 larvae, as in maggots on the sheep, these insect growth regulators won't kill these. So really important in particular for these products that you're getting in early before you have incidences of fly strike. And there's a number of products here in this category on the market, and they can have cover of up to 19 weeks. And by and large, what we're talking about here is the various click products, the clicks in, which is a shorter cover and a shorter withdrawal, and you have click and click extra. So they're the main ones that are in that category.
Damian, just like you mentioned in importance, and they probably are by the vast majority of flocks out there laying them for cover. You mentioned this already, but the correct application procedure for those is vital to get good efficacy of them. So soil fleeces obviously will work on it. It needs contact with wool and clean wool, really.
Yeah, exactly. So as it is good practice to clip any very soiled areas before you apply them. For the insecticidal pour-ons, it's probably even more important that the main areas are covered, as you say, with clean wool. The insect growth regulator products have, I suppose, technology in them that helps to move the product around. Still important to apply as directed, but it's easier to achieve cover because they have this technology that will bind to all areas of the sheep's body where there's wool growing. So it interacts with the lanolin there. So it is. But it is important, as I say, to follow directions and to apply them as directed as well.
You mentioned clipping there. I suppose that brings us probably one of the final treatments that Kieran will give you a bit of a reprieve.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, obviously a full fleece of wool is an ideal incubation ground for the fly to lay their eggs. And when you shear them, you'll remove this. But again, in high risk periods, that protection can be short lived. So the strike can occur within a matter of weeks as well. So One of the methods we already outlined probably needs to be incorporated into that plan. A lot of people, as I say, wouldn't be treating their yos if they're planning to shear them in the next week or so, or some have already been shorn. But 2 to 3 weeks later, you'd want to be thinking about treating them with the preventative method that we've already described.
Like, just when you mentioned about the preventive method going in later in the season, I suppose given the periods Covey outlined for some of them products, obviously the withdrawal date is important. We touch on that again, but you're probably going to need a second application, given that window you indicated at the start for some lambs, if you go for some of the shorter cover products.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, like the longer cover products, I suppose. Take an example of somebody who shears their yos over the the end of May, start of June period, and comes into maybe the middle of June and treats them with the likes of the 19-week the 19-week cover product. That's taking you right up towards the end of October sort of thing. So you'd be hopeful that one treatment would do there. But as you're saying, for lambs, people sometimes tend to go for the shorter withdrawal. But you also have the shorter cover. So important maybe to take note of when you'd be expecting that cover to run out as well. If people have earlier lambs that are near fit for slaughter at this stage, they'll either be using the shorter withdrawal product or they won't be treating them at all. If you go for one of the longer cover products, such as the Click or the Click Extra, you're talking about 42 days withdrawal. So if you're expecting to have a draft of lambs, say in late June, you're probably a bit late going in with a product like that, because there's nothing worse than sort of waiting for your withdrawal period to be up, even though you have lambs fit to go. So it's just important to plan ahead in terms of the choice of product that you use, and take account of the withdrawal periods for them.
So look, Damian, certainly something wants to be on the radar at the moment.
Absolutely, yeah. The conditions, Kieran, seem to be optimal at the minute for them. So it's important to be on top of it. Yeah.
Damian, thanks for that update today.
No bother, Kieran. Thank you.
We finished the episode up at this point. I have included a link in the show notes to an article on Teagasc Daily that outlines a lot of the details that Damian was discussing. It's useful reference to go back to. That's it for me. For updates on our sheep program, keep an eye on our Twitter page at Teagasc Sheep. I'm Kieran Lynch. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to rate and follow us wherever you get your podcasts.